So we have today HyperFiber here to tell us about what they'd like to do with the bringing fiber in for the city of Ocean Shores. To my right here is Dan Kennedy. He's the president and CEO of the company. Next to him is Matt Meyer. And Matt, what is your position?
I'm Senior Vice President of Engineering and Construction.
All right, thank you for that. And then Lori Hills is down at the far end. She's the one that contacted us and talked to us about the opportunities that HyperFiber can bring to this city. And it was pretty exciting for Scott and I to listen. And so we wanted to make that available for the public to listen and ask questions and such after we get done with the short slideshow here. So I don't know which one of you would like to talk through that. Is that you, Dan?
Lori? Go ahead.
You gotta push the button there.
Thank you for having us today. We really appreciate you coming out, and make sure you get some food before it's gone. They put out a beautiful spread for us. We are from HyperFiber, and we would just like to talk to you a little bit about who we are and what we do. If you could go ahead and go to the next slide. Dan, do you want to go ahead?
Sure, I'll simplify this for everybody because I hate reading from slides that put everybody to sleep. We're a company that builds fiber to the home here in the United States. I've been doing this a little over 30 something years. Actually, I learned how to do this in the military. So one of those few people that can stand up and say I had a job that was driven by that career I had. We today are in several states in the Southeast and Midwest, and logically expanding our presence throughout the United States. We also have a sister company that does the same thing in other states under the name Ripple Fiber. And so today we've collectively invested a little over, right at $400 million. And so when we, build out a community like this, our goal is to try to do everything up front and work with cities to try to put the best foot forward when we do this. I formerly worked for a city. My business partner has been a city administrator, and one of the toughest jobs you can have, and I always say, is city officials live in a fishbowl. So our responsibility, we take that very seriously. So, we're here to sign up as many customers as we can. And the worst thing we can do is have a bad relationship with the city, and certainly a bad relationship with the community. And so first and foremost, we're here very grateful that we're all here, and you guys have all taken the time to meet with us. But as you guys will see from these slides, it's just a high level overview of the services that you're going to get. So we're a multi-gig. And what that means is that, a lot of our speeds, start at 500 meg and go up to, 2 gig. And so you get that at pretty much the same rate that you're going to get from any other provider. Nationally, a majority of our customers take our highest tier. And so it's very attractive because of the service level that it offers to the consumer. And so really a broad coverage. One of the things we all hate when we're trying to stream something is call it the circle of death. So when you're trying to stream Netflix, Hulu, whatever it may be, or especially during a major event that you're watching, God forbid that, you lose coverage during that. So our infrastructure is designed to be redundant. But as we grow and build out, I will tell you, I jump on this sword right up front. We will be disruptive to the community. That means you're going to see trucks and vehicles and things in your yard. But we proactively have a group that stays in front of that you have direct numbers to call for everything that goes on. They're plastered all over everything. You'll be communicated through mail. You'll have a big digital presence that communicates exactly what we do. We communicate with the city. That way, if you have a complaint, 9 times out of 10, we've already communicated to the city what's happened. And so we'll give you a vehicle and an avenue for that. One of the things, as you guys will see right here, we outside of the notification of your, particular street that we're coming, you'll see people that'll come door to door and kind of educate you on what we do. It's a little bit different approach. This isn't trying to sell you undercoating on your car. It's to explain to you exactly what's about to happen. And so as we're going through the community, it gives you all the local advocates that will be your direct contacts. Like I said, you'll have Lori's contact. There'll be a 800 number and also a local direct number so that you'll always be able to get a hold of somebody at any given time. And that's usually um, communicated through like I said, every breadboard, anything that we're doing along with the city and along with any particular street or community, or if it's locally controlled by an individual HOA, it'll be communicated and controlled that way. So again, our goal is to get through this first phase of about 3,600 homes as quickly as we can. But I will tell you one of the things that's changed, and this is why I want to make sure everybody is aware. Communities over the years have changed since COVID. We're all more sensitive to what happens in our neighborhoods. I live in a neighborhood that actually had the exact same issue, and so it's important that we go at a pace that services this community. Everybody wants a service now, but if we did that, it would just tear everything up. And so we have to work with the city to have a pace that's logical. What we're trying to do. You want to try the next slide here? This is a good example of kind of the before and after. What you're going to see is kind of the old Boy Scout method. We try to leave it better than we found it. It's not perfect, guys. I will tell you, it's not. We try to be, but after we dig a hole, you put some dirt back into it. It does settle, but we do come back and fix it. We have a program that we have called a Green Team that makes sure that gets taken care of. That works in conjunction with local landscapers or whatever we need to do to make it right. One of the things that we also have is our employees have the autonomy and the authority to fix any issue. And that goes all the way down to the lowest level person. So if we have an issue, we certainly take care of it. I love this photo here, by the way. This is Florida. This is our Arkansas. I apologize. This is an area that we actually left it better than we found it. So the idea is we want to make sure that it looks like we weren't there. And that's really sometimes hard to do, but we do the best that we can. If a consumer sees something, there's a advocate and avenue for making that happen. And we try to restore and repair things within the same day. Doesn't always happen, but usually within 24, 48 hours it's taken care of. And again, to this point, we want to make everybody as happy as possible because customer service is what we're known for. And the only way you're going to sign up is if I don't tear up your yard and leave a big pile of dirt, which, over the years we've had different experiences with different telephone companies or cable companies that have done that whenever they come to a community. We're used to the fact that we're held to a higher standard. So again, this is, what we like to do, and it's worked for us extremely well today. So I like how you like that for fast, just like our internet. You like that? I couldn't do any better with that if I tried. One of the things you'll also find is it's really easy to sign up. You'll have, if you like using, readers or whatever the case may be for signing up, we make it as easy as possible. We keep your existing passwords if you've got those and you're using those on your home equipment. We try to use those as well. So again, if you're used to using a certain phrase or whatnot, you have a SSID, which is, how you find your network at home. We make sure that the equipment we put in matches that. So it's something you're used to seeing. We make sure everything in your home that should be connected to it is. There's nothing wrong with us staying in your home longer, other than you guys wanting to go do something else. But the point being is that the average consumer today has, about 20 devices in a home. And you don't really think about it until you go to change the service. So you've got your garage, or maybe like my wife, I don't know, we've got so many things connected. I think our refrigerator or our dryer and washer and refrigerator talk to each other. I mean, it's just, there's so much that we rely on with our Wi-Fi in our homes. we have to make sure that that works before we leave. The good news that you're going to like is the newer equipment today allows for better coverage, more thorough coverage in your home at higher speeds. That's really the name of the game. So as you got multiple devices in your home that want to connect, you're going to see that your speed tests are, we give you exactly what we say we're going to do. So, Matt here takes care of all of our construction. He has been doing this 30 years. Yeah, exactly. So, certainly a very, very long time. We always joke about, the things where we started in this technology and where we are today. I always tell people the worst piece of technology our children are going to know is an iPhone that you have in your pocket. Think about what we all grew up with, and it's a heck of a lot different. So, anyway, we're very, very proud to be here, and we certainly thank you, everyone, for taking the time to hear me tell a speech. And I think I should have brought the food in here. I think yeah. I was saying earlier to somebody, if we brought it in here and we don't have to walk so far, it makes for a much more fun and interactive conversation. With that said, I can let Matt here talk to you a little bit about the construction, give you some more background on that.
Yeah, I think Dan nailed it. It's definitely intrusive. We're going to hit some sprinklers, although I don't know how much you guys water here. It seems to be take care of itself. The sod, when we replace the sod, I think it's going to be really good. Going to take right off. But it is intrusive. Not everybody understands the utility easement and the right of way. And so a lot of times it extends behind the sidewalk and comes up into the yard a little bit. And those are people's yards, flower beds, and we understand it. And so we need brand ambassadors and advocates to help us explain that we're going to fix that, right? It's definitely intrusive, but we're going to do everything in our power to make it right.
Yeah, I love telling this story. We did the city of, I believe it was Punta Gorda there in Florida. The very first thing the contractor hit was the mayor's house and her sprinkler. I mean, and then when they put it back in, they aimed it the wrong way. And so, as she got the joke, so as a ceremony, we gave her a golden sprinkler. So we painted it. Yeah, I'm not going to give her a gold. But no, it again, it's not perfect. Contractors that we've been working with a very long time, but we also hire local. That's extremely important to us because, the dollars that we drive in the community is one thing, but the relationships that make us successful are what we do here. I grew up in a small town, and I can tell you from providing a service in a small town, you can't hide. So if you go to a local restaurant, they'll tell you good, better, ugly what you're doing. So we apply the same thing here. A big difference I think you'll see is, and I've said this a lot, and then it resonated with a gentleman that we talked to today that retired from Comcast. Our employees are proud to wear their shirts when they go into a store. I dare you to find that from somebody else. And so, we make what we do, fun, but we're also here to support the community. And that is, we'll sponsor just about anything we can, because one of the things that I enjoy doing is, when you come out and you go to whether it's a game or whatnot, and the two championship teams have our logos on their shirts. So I really like that. So anyway, we do what we can. And that's something over the years I learned from a gentleman many, many years ago, a family owned telephone company. And he did that one year. I just remember this. We didn't buy the cow, and it became a big deal. We had to buy 2 cows. So, so I learned over the years, do it right up front. So anyway, any questions for anybody? I apologize. I didn't mean to hide
Yeah.
that. Dave, you got something?
No, you're good.
Yeah.
Allison's running the mic around, so.
Yeah, why she's headed that way, I just want to reinforce what Dan says. We're going to hire local engineering partners to the best of our ability. Washington is an expensive market to build. Local construction partners. I've already hired a local construction manager south of Seattle. We'll put another one in place, especially in market. Technicians, we'll hire local market managers to be our liaison to the community, if you will. So we do put a lot of effort into that.
My question was just whether you might have wondered if you could make the whole message shorter by simply asking who in the room wouldn't go for internet at $85 a month.
That's a great question.
Anybody raise a hand
Right.
that would
So
go for this?
you're in charge of sales.
Anyway, that's it.
Okay.
No. So your husband tells really good jokes.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you
that's-
very much, I'm sure.
Yeah. He's not allowed on United Airlines. Where else?
No, no place. You're absolutely correct. I was wondering, are there any other cities in the state of Washington or Oregon that are close by that you have done this with already?
Years ago, I did a project in Oregon. We assisted the city of Dallas. It's been many, many years. Over the years of my career, to be fair, we've had directly or indirectly businesses here. We have a 22 city project that we're doing here in the state. So we're spending quite a chunk of change. And to be fair, you know, there's a lot of providers here that I know the CEOs of, et cetera, like Zipley, is Harold. And so, you know, there are some very good companies throughout the state. But to answer your question directly, this we've got, I forgot how many we're watching at the same time.
Roughly 11.
Right. So, you know, you go slower than you used to. So therefore you have to do more cities at the same time. So you'll see us do that. But around the country, we have a sister company as well. And there, you know, for all fairness to this, at some point, I will stop spending money on both brands and brand one of them. I don't know if we're going to do rock, paper, scissors over which brand we use, but maybe we'll get your husband and tell jokes who are last the most. We'll go with that one. Yeah, I think you'll do fine. But we have 240 cities, you know, and growing. So we're targeting 11 states and growing. The business has certainly changed and requires us to spread out our footprint a little bit further. But, you know, again, you know, hiring local is key to making this work. And we get employees come from competitors, et cetera. Because when you're in a company like ours, you think about, you know, if we service retirement communities, it's interesting in the discussions we have, like where their careers have evolved. This is no different. We get people in young and different age groups. And then so we have some mentoring and we also have some that are growing their careers. And it gives somebody in a larger, bigger company an opportunity to grow faster in their career. And then we get a lot of people because of it. That a short answer to your long question.
Go ahead, Matt.
So it'll be quickly evident that I'm already in tech. And I have a list of questions. I don't know how many I can ask. I already got a partial answer, but is there enough backhaul available to the town? Because I know Grace Harbor PUD's dark fiber capacity is fairly limited.
Great
Out here.
question. And as a perfect way to answer that, we just met with a PUD prior to coming here. So PUD has a pretty large network that will be able to have a redundancy in here. And so the answer to your question is yes.
Yeah, I would add that the the limitation's not the fiber itself, but probably the electronics and the capacity they put on it. We will ensure that we
We had that discussion with them today.
Yep.
So what we'll do is a good example. Say it doesn't. So we'll pay for the gear to upgrade it, or we'll pay for the associated redundancy that we need. Some of it may have to be built. Some of it may exist. We always prefer if it exists, but it's perfect. So the answer to your question is what they're representing to us is they have the capability for the bandwidth we need.
Sweet. Next question is, I know a lot of people here appreciate local tech support presence from your competitor. Will there be a staff to local office that people can go to for billing and tech support questions?
Yes. So, you know, you have technicians that will, the way it morphs over time, will have some centralized pieces to that. For us, it's changed. Hiring has changed like I've never seen it before. I think people use AI to write resumes. So we have always in every market has kind of a kit of people we start with, and then it expands and contracts depending on the area. And so, you know, you always have people local, and that's most important. Now, the funny thing about a store, and this is the thing, it's changed, especially you think about technology. Most consumers I could count on one hand the time they actually walk into a store anymore. So we end up doing different things to fill up different space for different reasons. Sometimes it's to store equipment here, so it's here and not somewhere else that you got to drive and bring it here. So there will be a lot of different, reasons we have a footprint here.
You already answered one of mine with the question was trenching or pole deployment.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do last mile? This town's not that big, but will the last mile be to over pole for the properties that wouldn't be able to trench onto?
Right. So we'll use the infrastructure of the poles that we're allowed to. But again, you get a lot of neighborhoods where it drops off and goes underground for different reasons. We did that, we've all nobody likes looking at poles, right? So a lot of areas that have, for beautification reasons, dropped off will be underground. So it'll be a mix to answer your question.
Okay. There's also a lot of camping lots in town, and a lot of those people have internet on their lot. Would you be able to support that if like an all-weather box was supplied to put the fiber node into?
So the enclosures that we use are weatherproof. The equipment, I'd be interested how exactly we'll service, because I assume that that's a seasonal, customer, or are those permanent?
They're usually seasonal. Some of us are here in the bad weather times as well.
So is it,
Well, if you leave it your, particular, whatever there, I mean, whatever you're a camper or whatever, if you leave on that lot, it'll always be connected.
Yeah, you can, unfortunately.
yeah, so what I think you'll see is those property owners purchasing a DIA and maybe doing a managed Wi-Fi solution, right, for the various campers on the property. So that's something we could help them with.
Those of us that don't know DIA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Direct internet access. So, like to your point on the backhaul, right? They would buy a backhaul service from us potentially, and then do a managed Wi-Fi solution on the property. That would be my recommendation.
That goes into my
We have the
last-
same situation in Florida,
Yeah.
right? So it's, I mean, almost identical. So, we have some different solutions that depend on the person.
Yeah, I have an all-weather box for coast connection on mine right now. So I
Like
got
some
that
type
set
of
up.
NEMA enclosure or something of that nature.
It's just a sealed box that I have all the tech gear
Gotcha.
in on the pole.
Okay.
But would we be forced to use your router, or do you support end user equipment like Ubiquity?
Well, we're agnostic when it comes to that. If for the average consumer, they'll be using ours. Because again, having consumers tech savvy, in other words, go to Walmart, buy a router and plug it in, that's a high maintenance style customer because, they're trying to connect a lot of devices. If they're not as sophisticated as you are, you can do whatever you want. I mean, we don't charge extra for it. So knock your socks off. You'll tell you what, given your background, I would highly recommend you test it because you'll enjoy it's a Nokia platform. And it's pretty good. But again, if you depend on what you're doing, your networking at home, your servers, your routers, things that you're doing as your own home networking, whatever it is, you may not care. You do your own and have at it.
I'm one of the few
I think
people that
Matt,
has
also
prosumer
to Dan,
stuff on a camping lot. So
Yeah, again, we're agnostic.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think to Dan's point, 80% of customers aren't, don't know the equipment maybe like you do. So when they have a bad Wi-Fi experience, we own that experience, right?
Right. Right.
So it ends up being our fault. So we want to do the best we can to make sure that that's, an exceptional service. So sounds like you may need a technician position.
Yeah,
I don't know if you can
I think
afford
it's the same
it.
exact thing. Yeah. We do have openings.
I would
I
add
have-
to that the for those people who don't want to dive into the technology, it's all inclusive in our price. So it's not another $10, another $12. It's that price we print that covers everything. Done.
There's no extra taxes, whatnot. That's your price.
That's all your equipment. That's everything.
I'm down to 2 questions.
But you can choose
No,
something
you're going.
else.
You're going.
About phase 1 on the slide, which was the whole town. But are you going to start from a centralized location and work your way out from there? And where would that centralized location be?
The step-off point, I don't know if we've got the exact one on this map, but that'll be updated and published as we go along. Because they're working with, we found out today that there's not a hut per se here. There was, there's some discussion apparently between the PUD and city here regarding what, when, where, and how. So we'll have to be placing our own, depending on what that looks like, et cetera. So that's going to be a little bit of a evolution of a discussion. I wish I had a direct answer, but I don't where I sit today.
Yeah, you will see us try to do our best to centralize it and kind of build out from the center out.
Yeah.
And my last question is, are you going to work with the Quinault Nation at all? Because they're deploying that new fiber landing on their property up north.
I'm not aware of it.
I'm not familiar with it either, but I'd love more details after this if you want to chat.
Sure.
Yeah, great. Thanks for the questions and the engagement.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I have several questions too. First one is this a definite? Is it happening or is it still in the research?
No, we have a process. We selected coming here back in November. And so we have this really unique process doing selections throughout the United States. So we've got 2 guys from MIT and we got a patent pending on how we do it. It's actually really unique. So yeah, to answer your question, we're coming.
Great. Okay. Next question related to that. What's your time frame? What, start to completion? When will we start to see activity? When would we expect some service?
Right. So, Matt?
Yeah, I can tell you, Matt, you're going to like this. You're going to see a LiDAR camera on a truck, probably driving through town, doing some aerial assessments on the poles as soon as next week. One of the gating factors is permits and license agreements and trying to get our contractual obligations complete. But we're in the design phase, and so we're starting.
Excellent.
Yeah.
You had asked the audience about pricing, and I think you talked about your pricing for 1 gigabyte.
Mhm.
I got on your website before we came just to educate myself a little bit, and I saw that you had it referenced plans from 250 megabytes to 1 gigabyte. I couldn't find anything regarding pricing for the different plans. Can you speak to that? Or I didn't spend a lot of time on your site, but I tried to find pricing plan.
Yeah, so we have the multi-gig product that's launching now, and I want to say the price for that is $85 for the multi-gig. So you'll see, and what I mean by that's the 2 gig product that's out there. And what's happening, so you kind of understand how this works. Over the time of providing internet services, the average consumer still always pays about the same price. You just keep giving them more bandwidth. So your lower tier packages that used to be 250 meg, or lower tier package will be 500. And so what happens is they just kind of shuffle down. And so the 2 gig product, we launched it in Colorado. And so that was, apologize for exact amount. We'll send you a price sheet breakout for you to choose from. But your average price is anywhere from $65 all the way up to $95, depending on what you're doing.
So will those be available to us? Like I said, I think your website started at 250 megabytes.
That's going to change soon. Yeah,
Won't
where the
be
starting will
available,
be
or-
500, right?
Okay, so it'll be.
Now, what we'll do, to be fair, let me back up. I apologize for interrupting you, is that we will keep a lower package, because if we do serve, lower income, et cetera, you'll see that out there. But from a price point, what's 250 will be 500. So, you don't charge more for, giving somebody that extra service. So yeah, you're gonna, and so what'll happen is you'll have a drop-down menu specific to your area, your town. You'll see all the prices, but you'll notice that they're all the same nationally.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't do this. I don't have different price rates for different markets. We don't
Right.
do that. The only reason we had the 250 is when we started, we offered it, and it was kind of, do we want to have a low-end package for consumers? Just the opposite happened. The average consumer for us, north of 95% buy our top-tier package. So the point was, well, all right, well, why don't we give people a 500 meg option and then simplify it 500, 1 gig, 2 gig. And so that's the path we're headed down.
And it's the same across the country. So it's not a different package for Ocean
Right.
Shores. You get the same package that we provide in Arkansas and Florida and Colorado.
Okay, I'm just kind of curious because you're speaking to the audience about $80 or $85, who would be interested in that. I'm sure you're well aware we don't have very many options out here. We've been used 2 of the 3 available options out here, and they're about half your price. It's not fiber, but it's adequate and works for our needs, and I can't speak to everybody else.
And that's not unusual. Let me be fair to this discussion. There are consumers that buy, depending on what you do with it, right? It's really up to you. These are symmetrical speeds. So depending on if you're buying from a cable company, owned a cable company, speeds aren't symmetrical. So you don't get as much up as you do down, right?
Correct.
So if you buy DSL, same thing. So you're CenturyLink or whoever, it's even worse. So from that perspective, what you see is the difference in the quality, and so that's what with us consumers are choosing because they want all the stuff in their home to always work. They want the product to be what they bought, and so that's why we have the different tier pricing there. So if you're just using basic stuff, buy the lowest end package. You'll be extremely happy. If you're just checking email and a few other things, we're always open to, if you want a 250 meg at a discount price, we're always, sensitive to that. So, so we always take all your feedback. The world, as a whole, we try to make sure that we're simplifying what we offer. Again, if you have a bunch of stuff and then it becomes very complicated to what you do. And so again, consumers like easy, they like simple. And again, that's who we try to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't try to have like 5, 10 different packages like our
I guess my
competitors do.
feedback then to that would be, we have 10 devices between phones, laptops, computers,
Sure.
streaming, sprinklers, thermostats, a car.
Yeah.
200 megabytes works great
Okay.
for that. And it's about half the price of what I'm hearing, so I can appreciate that yours is probably more consistent. It probably has better upload speeds. But to pay double, I don't know if I would need to do that.
Yeah. And
So
again,
that's why I was asking about when I saw on your website that there were different tiers, but I couldn't find pricing related.
yeah, we'll send you and you'll get, like I said, for $65 for the low end package, which would be, your 250 or 500. That should be relatively close to where you're at. But if you're paying half that at $30, I'll tell you to keep it.
Well,
And I've had this, discussion before. I've helped our door-to-door folks and met a gentleman who had, we compete in market. He had AT&T. He was a veteran, got a great rate as a veteran. And I told him you should stay with it. I mean, there's no reason to, jump ship if you're checking just a few things at email. But again, personal
So-
preference.
well, I probably misspoke a little bit, but it's $50.
Okay, let's.
I'm
ask
sorry. I'm
questions.
sorry. The question was, how much do we pay? We pay 50. So we've lived here since 2016 and we are on our 3rd provider. So anyway, I think we're on our 3rd.
Yes, ma'am.
Because the service has been increasingly poor. And so we always have switched to something new. Of course, none of them have ever been fiber. So,
Yes, ma'am.
but then we have 5 friends that work remote, and they will jump on you tomorrow because they're always complaining about either the cost and then the lack of what they have, or just, in fact, they're all looking at Starlink because that's
Yeah.
what it's called,
Yeah.
because they're looking for something more. But it's the retired income, I think, rather than low income here, it's retired income that kind of looks for different things. So that's why we're interested in fiber. It's
Sure.
just, you know,
Can we justify?
yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
what you'll find is, again, you can try, there's no contracts, no installation, no charges for that. So if you don't like it, you can certainly switch and we'll help you switch back if needed.
Right, I got a question. Lori, when we were talking, if I understood correctly, that the pricing was lifetime pricing once you sign up?
We do have gig pricing for life, yeah.
Okay,
And what we're finding, Dan, I think you can speak to that a little bit, that we're often increasing the speed and holding our price the same.
Yeah, it's interesting, giving away a service for life. I actually had one city council ask me, what does that mean? Actually, I had to think about it for a second, like, how long we all going to be around to have the service? Um, the interesting thing about all the companies I've ever been a part of or whatnot, we've never raised internet prices. And the thing that you think kind of funny about that is you ever heard price guarantee, right, from your competitors. So we offered price for life in the market years ago, Rhode Island, retirement community, et cetera. We said, all right, price for life. And nobody responded to it. Comcast, no, I'm sorry, Cox, it was the competitor and put out a price guarantee 3 years. Everybody we're like, people are signing. So we're like, okay, 5-year price guarantee. People signed up. So, it's weird what we all respond to. But the simplest thing for us to do is it's price for life. And the really unique piece is that there's no tax, there's no extra things on there. What you see on our advertisement is exactly what's on your bill. So, if you want to kind of think about other charges and things that other providers kind of tack on, we don't do that.
Is there any installation charge?
None.
Okay. Now, my
No contracts, no installation charges.
cool. Okay, my fellow Oceanite, there is stuff out there I picked up on the cardboard thingies, and he has $200 to switch now. I don't know if this means like if you're entering it for the first time, you get a present of $200. Is that what it means?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And then the other one that you have here is for 2 gigs for 2,000 megabytes. It's $95 a month.
Yeah, that would be the top tier.
And then 1 gig is $85 a month.
Mhm.
Okay. I do read. I like to pick up.
No, I love it. Love it.
And whatever I don't understand, I'll drop it off at the mayor's house. I mean, office. So, let's see. Can we take this outside of the United States, or are we kind of like locked into here? Can we move around and go all over the world using our internet?
No. I am so sorry. No. It's physically here in the ground.
Okay.
So, no, ma'am. If you're thinking of like the device in your home, no.
Okay. And last but not least, those that are looking for trying to see if they can get into an apprenticeship type program, do they call your HR to hook up?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Are you interested in taking care of some of our high school students who are looking at becoming someday doing what you're doing?
Love them. The thing is, one of the best stories I can give you on that is a young man, the high schools have your children go and they got to go through the interview process when they're trying to be an intern. I'll never forget this young man. He was the last one. And I just happened to be walking by and he said, look, I know that you guys have interviewed and probably picked your, person, but my mom said I have to come interview. And so he was sitting there and I was listening to this and it just struck me. And I said, well, hand me his resume. And I'm looking at it. At the bottom of it, where's our geek over there? All right. So he had put down at the bottom that he had done some programming. And I'm like, really, what have you done? And it was in Microsoft. So I was like, I'll tell you what, follow me down the hall. We had this room full of all this equipment. And I said, this is your job. You get to play with all this equipment. You get to fix it, refurbish it. He still works there till today. So, you never know on what kids can do. But the answer is yes. Any of we used to do some programs in schools for the gentleman in the back for the video side of the world when, they've got different things that they do and they're trying to, different programs. Yeah, you can never sponsor enough stuff in schools, ever.
Yeah, I would like to add to that. I think that's a great question. I actually worked with academia in the state of Wyoming, and Wyoming does a lot of mineral extraction, oil and gas. And so I worked with them to develop a 2-year program to show the youth in Wyoming that there's more to just oil and gas. And it was really enjoyable. And we don't do enough as an industry, in my opinion, in telecommunications. We don't make this an attractive position. I think we need to do more. And I would argue that it should start earlier than high school. I think we should be bringing middle schoolers in to see how to splice and see how to test and introduce them to the industry much, much earlier.
Well, now I know why you brought food, because if somebody's holding a plate, they couldn't hold the microphone too. By the way, thank you for that. But I live outside the gates of Ocean Shores.
Okay.
And so this is a contract with the city, correct? That you are going to be providing this service within the city limits, correct?
We do a contract with the city for the right of way. Right. So there's not like a contract per se outside of that. So it allows us to dig in a yard, so to speak, in the public right of way. How far outside are you?
You could spit across the street.
Well, that we could probably serve it. We can spit. Right?
Okay.
So yeah.
So
it's
are you
gonna
going to be
great.
doing this within the county?
Yes. Like I said, we're doing 22 cities between here and Seattle. So, apologize, Kent, the city, that county that's in there, King County, apologize.
It's way up.
Right. So, yeah, we've got, I gotta get them all straight here anymore.
No, I understood that from Lori, that you're also doing Pacific County as well. Were you looking at things there?
Yeah. And we'll always add cities. So over time, what happens is a natural byproduct of what we do. A lot of the blanks get filled in for different reasons. A lot of states, a lot of people don't know, E-rate projects that fund connectivity to our schools, libraries, et cetera. And so as it evolves, you'll see more and more of involvement on that side, which naturally as a byproduct will connect more and more communities. So we like doing that.
And
I love
with-
customers. So yeah.
With the fiber that you have, I'm wondering if this is proprietary only for you, or do you lease out the fiber for other businesses to use as well?
Yeah, so we connect business customers. So yes. And if they want to utilize our infrastructure, absolutely.
And I-
so, yeah,
go ahead.
happy to do it.
And then I also said that there is a buyout for $200 on
Yes, out
your
of,
website.
so if you're in a contract, we design that so if you are locked into some contract, because what happens a lot of times when we come to a market, the other provider will start locking their consumers in. They'll give them a great rate, but then now they're locked into a contract. And so it happens so often when we go to a market. And so what we'll do is just offer that, because then they can, we understand you want to take, every dollar counts. So take advantage of it, but we give you an out.
Well, I remember dealing with Comcast and having look at their ratings, and their ratings were the worst of any internet provider there was. You could not get a live person on the phone, and nobody returned your phone calls. So my expectation is that I want somebody who's going to be local, and that there's going to be an office where I can talk to a live person.
You'll always be able to talk to a live person, and you'll always be able, you want to go throw a rock at us, whatever. No, we're there. Absolutely.
Well, I don't necessarily go around throwing rocks, but I would like to
I would
have
hope
that
not, but yeah,
conversation and just have know that person is responsible for providing me with the service that I'm paying for.
Yeah, we've competed against Comcast a lot. I don't know if I should repeat this, but we did run a campaign one time that said nothing was slower in their internet than their customer service.
It
So
was, they stole
they
my.
named us and so we named them, so. But to be fair, I will tell you the big difference that you're going to find is the customer service. The last company I had, which is still operating, was ranked number 2 in the nation behind Google in customer service. They weren't even known for it before we got the company. Because that's the way, honestly, guys, that's the way we keep people happy. And you got to have the best, because consumers snap. It takes 1 turns into 2, 2 turns into 4. So you better be good at what you're doing, or you better be good at fixing it. Because again, we're not perfect. Stuff will break. Outages do happen. Used to say this: Buicks find poles, right? So we do have outages. It's how we react when we fix them, and it's what we do for you when that happens. Again, like good example, we started building in Florida. We got hit by a hurricane. we learned a lot about storm surge, and so at the same time, one of the carriers in our backhaul had a lot of outages, and we got painted with a broad brush because of it. So we spent our own dime to fix all that so it doesn't happen again. So again, again, I would tell you, look at our worst and what we've done to fix those things. That's what makes us a good company.
And how many years in service?
I spent 8. Yeah, I spent 8. I started out in Fort Riley, Kansas, and then went to the Gulf, and then I luckily got to spend part of my career in Hawaii, so it wasn't bad. But I enjoyed it.
Well, thank you for considering this area.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, how's it going? So you mentioned poles resiliency. If there is, you trench and you get a sprinkler, and then that person goes and puts a sprinkler back for some reason in this town, how many customers are affected by each line break, and how long does it take to repair on average in other markets?
Good question.
Are you talking about the sprinklers in your yard?
Yeah, so if you cut them, it's a little bit of leak. If they cut your glass, are you running a whole one? Are you joining them back together? How do you get them back up? The fiber.
So typically the sprinklers, unless we're working in the off season.
Sorry, misstating. I'm not worried about the sprinklers. I'm worried when they go to trench again to install
What
new
happens if we get a
sprinklers
cut?
and they break you.
Yeah, if we're cut, so I typically, depending on the travel, try to prepare for a 2-hour restoration time for at the max. And so we're designed to where we can replace segments very quickly. And again, we try to keep the local technicians local for that response time, but we can do it very, very quickly. I would say 2 to 4 hours is kind of my goal. We'll put emergency restoration kits for the large backhaul. And then, we put spares and keep the trucks stocked for those type of incidents.
Does every cut affect all customers, or
No.
is the town segmented?
Yeah, it's segmented.
Okay. And then lastly, we don't have hurricanes, we have tsunamis. Are you kind of planning for that kind of restoration if the worst of the worst comes?
Well, surge is surge, so we've learned that it has a funny way of sticking around a little bit longer than you think, and be a lot higher than you think. But to answer your question, isn't it strange kind of things like that create kind of the unique experiences and designs and elements that you do to make your network resilient? Because all the best planning in the world doesn't, Mother Nature has a way of changing those plans. But yeah, our teams have been through that quite extensively. So in Florida, for instance, we even had to go a step further. We had to set up water stations. We set up Wi-Fi stations for people to be able to access internet. I mean, we did a lot because that was an extensive outage. Tell you the truth, a lot of the damage actually didn't come from the storm. It came from people out with chainsaws cutting down trees after the fact.
Yeah.
Took down everything. That's where most of the outages were caused.
I got a question for you guys. So we've got a lot of construction going on, and we've still got a lot of lots to build out. You guys do your own locates, or do you hire a company to do that?
sometimes both, but you know, our initial technicians have the ability to do the locates for us. Um, you know, it just depends. When I say both, you know, maybe it's outside the city area, you know, that we would assign it. Like nationally, you got USIC, you know, et cetera. But if you got a local entity, we do a both, because sometimes we have to hire them. Like USIC, we have to hire and pay for them to help locate for us to so we can build. So they'll locate your stuff, but I got to pay them, even though you're paying them. So I don't know if we talk about that a different day. But the point is, you know, that's an ongoing little thing. But 99% we locate ourselves.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, I would add to that. Just this morning, we had a meeting in Fort Lupton, Colorado. They have one locator. So we went in and offered 3 locators to help them be able to keep up with the pace.
Yeah, them being USIC. Yeah. USIC and the entities, you know, they're all, you know, controlled by a budget. They hire accordingly, you know, around October of each year for the following year. So you have to get kind of in their cycle to do that. And we're constantly talking to them about that. So, but like different states, there's a few states that have their own. It's the same thing. You know? That's a living animal. And then we also, to add to that, let me add to, there's cities that own their own infrastructure that will help them as well. So if you own your own water, a lot of cities own their own water, not a lot own their own electric anymore. But you know, one of the tough things is with the pace that we're trying to do, depending on your department and the additional pressure that gets added, you know, we'll do things that are needed to help. Whether you know we work with you alongside that, whether we buy golf carts, you know, whatever would help make it easier to paint a blue line on a road. But the idea is, you know, cities have a general budget in which they operate in. We're here not to stress that. And so, you know, if you have constraints, just tell us what they are, and we'll find a way to work around. We've set aside dollars. For instance, in one city in Florida, they just didn't know where their water was, and it had all these just crazy little tangents built off of it, and we were hitting it. And it was, you know, we tried ground penetrating radar. It's all water, you know, in Florida. So it was hard to even find with that. So basically, I just set aside a budget, said no matter what happens, we'll pay for it. And that was the easiest way to do it, because they had restaurants, things that would be out because of it. So the easiest thing to do was just us set aside some dollars, and then everybody was happy.
All right, what, just a second. What depth do you guys bury the cable?
So for our feeder, we try to stay in the 48-inch range. That's pretty typical throughout the state. Often I will ask for a 24 to 36-inch exception in the neighborhoods. And to Dan's point, we were hitting water lines. Arkansas is another good example. And so a lot of times we can engineer the risk out of it, right? So we started to put a pattern together and see what depths we were. And then we changed our design and moved the depth down so we could avoid those strikes.
That's part of my question. As you've noticed around here, we have a lot of rain. This isn't a joke, our water table
Yeah.
level, we've talked to several people that build a house and they can't get their foundation down because, or they can, but they have water seeping up. So is this, have you taken this into consideration that in some areas, is the fiber protected enough from moisture? I'm not talking about cutting water lines. I'm talking about the water table itself
Yes,
is
ma'am.
fairly,
All the fiber and
thank you.
Good.
you talk to
Yeah.
the construction.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've built about 50,000 passings in Florida, and it's got the same kind of water table issues. So yeah, we've designed for that. Yep. That's a good question.
Sorry, I was just being a smart aleck here. Couldn't help myself. This may not be a question for you, but I need to ask it. I am my brother's caretaker. He's 79 and he's got all kinds of ailments. And the most challenging one for me is pretty much at end stage of Alzheimer's. And I have tried, I use Coast. I've tried, my son has a bunch of streaming services, so I've tried to see if I could convert my brother to use streaming. He has enough trouble figuring out the cable system, let alone a streamer. So for me to switch, because he lives by the television. So, and you probably don't, I don't know if you know, but like if I signed up for your service for internet, would the local cable provider feed me television service through your system? Is that something that is possible?
So to answer that, okay, so video is controlled by the provider themselves. You have contracts upstream with Disney or whomever. We used to be in the cable business, so know it really well. So they can't send their content over our network. They can stream it. If they've got a streaming service, the answer is yes, because we're agnostic to that. And so are they, because they have the legal rights to do it.
Correct. Okay, I may have to end up separating these services out because there's no way that he would. I mean, he literally watches television most of the day long, and he would never survive if I had to get him to try and figure out how to use this streaming thing. He's worse than I am with computers. Anyway, that's my question. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I to kind of give you a direct one. My father has Alzheimer's and aphasia, so I had to go set up his. Um, and you know, my father's at that stage where he can still joke about it because we were talking about Hogan's Heroes may become where it looks like a new show, not no. And so we have some interesting discussions. So I've set his stuff up to be very easy for both him and my mom to use, and they use in their case. I set up an HD receiver as opposed to because the cable was charter and it became too complicated for him to remember. So I bought him a smart TV, which has some extra channels on it for free. So his primary thing was I wanted to watch MeTV because you got Gunsmoke, you got everything that you're Perry Mason. Think of all these, and I've sat around and watched them all again. And so Hogan's Heroes had what 1 year, I think, before all that he passed away. But the point being is, there you can, use a bit of technology that might make it easier. The hardest thing for an Alzheimer's patient that isn't learning is that, for my father is the change, right? And that's the big thing. So, if there's a way we can help, we certainly will. And certainly personally understand. So,
Yeah, you could stream and then do like a service like Hulu and get your local channels through that medium.
I think my problem with that is trying to get him to be able to change channels using a computer or something. He gets confused using this
Yeah.
controller for the cable system and trying to
Right.
find what he's restored on the DVR. It's
Yeah.
his short-term memory is about
Yeah.
8 seconds.
okay.
Yeah. The Hulu's pretty easy. I don't know if you have some friends in town that have it, but you might explore that.
They also make a simpler remote. So they do make the big, exactly. They do, and along with the phone. So, there's a lot of things you can do there.
I had two. You kind of touched on one. At one point, you said something about servicing 3600, an
The
area
initial
30,
phase.
yeah,
Yes,
in the
ma'am.
initial phase. But when Matt was asking, you don't quite know where that
The
phase.
step off point, the first place, we don't know where that exactly is just yet. Because it may change. If I told you today, it literally, because when they're designing their step off point, it has a lot to do with the question earlier about redundancy and initial connectivity. So we try to typically say UT ends it, kind of simplify this. Say they end at the gate coming in, and so we try to build from there to typically a little bit more centralized point, kind of start from, because then we can service more homes faster. So if you kind of build from the gate in, you're really kind of limited. And so again, there's a lot of considerations on that. We try to optimize that first point that we step on.
Okay, my other question is, especially in my area, what we have found, so I don't know how, if you've driven through the town much, but in my area, we have some very deep drainage ditches everywhere.
Mhm.
And we have found from recent digging in there that a lot of our lines were buried in those ditches and
Common.
underneath them, and there's been problems in the area. So I guess I'm asking how you would handle that. Would you try and stay underground or would you go overground? Because like you said, on the main roads, there is the overhead available, but then when you go into the cul-de-sacs, things like that, it's underground. But as far as where there's already cable and stuff like that in those drainage ditches, is that something you would also follow? And I guess how would you tackle something like that?
It's a little bit more of a. I want to answer that in probably a broader sense, the right of way for where everybody builds is where we're allocated to build at. You know, say it's, say some cities it says 30 feet on center to the side, some are just, you know, so many feet off the road. It depends on, you know, what that space is for the right of way space for the consumer. We try to, you know, build not where we're avoiding hitting that, because if I built right on top of where they put the flag, we may hit it unless we already knew that it was 20 feet down. But you'll see us build to the side of it, which could be partly in the ditch, to the side of the ditch. It just depends.
Yeah, you will see us. One of the very first things we started doing in design is we use automation. And I call it difficult crossings. And so we try to identify those difficult crossings up front, and I will try to strategically design around those if possible. But to Dan's point, if that's where the utility easement lies, then sometimes that's our only choice. So we'll try to do it as efficient as possible.
I got another question for you guys. So we've been talking about phase one. How many phases do you have planned to take care of the whole town?
2. Yeah,
All right.
it is.
That's
Yeah,
good.
it's not complicated. No, I
Yeah.
apologize. We could have put that up there for you guys.
Yeah. I think you have 6,300, something like that in Ocean Shores. Is
We
that right?
Physical
um,
addresses today.
physical addresses. I'm not
That-
sure.
That's including MDUs.
Okay, that could be correct.
Yeah. So what I often say is there's no fundamental business case to build fiber past a certain density. It's just that expensive. And so we try to build the densest first, and then expand it out, you know, to be able to afford to expand it out. So as you can see, you know, just the 3,600 homes is $5.3 million. And then we'll go into phase 2 and build out the rest.
Yes, I just wanted to ask, sounds like you're committed to doing business in the area. Have you a business plan, and are you going to commit $5.3 million?
It's already committed.
Oh, it's already committed.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have to get approval from the city council, like the
Like a franchise agreement.
yeah, franchise
Yeah,
agreement?
yeah. So
You do have to get
the
that.
city has to approve our right of way. And
Okay.
so that's very normal. I mean,
Yeah, it's just like the garbage service, probably. Garbage company has a franchise with the city to pick up the garbage.
you know, it's a little bit more complicated because we're in the public right of way.
Okay.
So there's a few different rules that we have to follow. Sometimes there's some bonding. I mean, I'm kind of getting the weeds, but the point being, to answer your first question, we can't spend the capital fast enough.
I see.
And these guys will tell you that I never think they go fast enough. But
So-
yeah, the money is
So
already
the
allocated.
city council or the city won't stop you. You'll keep going.
Well, I think the way I like to say that, answer that question is we like to do things with the city.
Okay,
I
good.
don't like to sound adversarial like that.
We're sitting at the table for a reason, Andy.
Yeah,
We're up here for a reason.
I would like the mayor to answer that question.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question, though.
I hope I didn't miss this part. So incorporating that budget,
Uh-huh.
do you need to have commitments from a certain number of homeowner property owners
No, ma'am.
first? Thank you.
No, man. We do the analysis that's available to us to determine how we build is amazing. And I got asked this question one time. They're like, "How do you know what to do?" I tell them 30 years of mistakes. You know, you get smarter as you go with this. So, you know, when we talk about where we built first, I always tell people this: I want you to go home, tell your significant other that we're going to max our credit cards out. We're going to empty our checking account, savings, everything. And we're going to go build a ton of fiber. We're going to put 10 miles of fiber to one home. How much money are we going to make? My wife would beat the crap out of me and say no. So what do you think I'm going to spend that? No. So we you know, I logically build, and our team does, to make sure that there's a return here as we go. You know, that's the way you afford to do it. And so as we expand, we'll go as fast as honestly we can. But you got to remember, and this is what's important, as fast as we want to go, not every consumer agrees with what Dan Kennedy says, how pretty it looks, or are we doing the right thing? So you'll see, and this is 100% fair, you'll see stops and starts, and it goes slow in the beginning. And the reason it goes slow is, think of it, you know, you're kind of dating in the beginning. You know, here we come along, we're coming to town. You want to see how we do. You know, do you like each other? You know, do you like my funny joke that I just told? Yeah, then we go on the next date. So when we do the next section, okay, we sit down, talk through that. We like this, we didn't like that. And so we kind of work that out. And what you'll see over a period of about 2 months, we start building that pace up. And it will max out at a certain pace because we're, again, not trying to stress the infrastructure of the city nor the consumer. You know, if you got a bunch of roads and people out tearing stuff up, that's not really what you want to see. So again, you're going to see it, but it has to happen at a certain rate, and it has to happen for a certain reason.
We got any more questions out there?
There he is.
Say one more technical
There he is.
All right,
question.
Matt.
So if you want to get hired,
What's the fastest that you can deploy, assuming no like administrative roadblocks that are in the way? It's not like we have many sidewalks here to dig up.
Yeah. Take it.
yeah, you do that.
Yeah, so we try to design them in, we call them FDAs, fiber distribution areas. You'll hear them called zones or sectors. We try to keep those in about 250 to 300 homes, and we can finish those in about 45 to 60 days. Just depends on, you know, the terrain and the rock and cobble and how the dirt is. So, yeah, you'd be surprised.
Yeah,
We got a
so
lot
the,
of
the
sand
thing is,
here.
you can bring a lot of crews to town to do all the work, but again, it goes back to the original statement I made. We kind of have to, you know, make the relationship work. You know, we've had cities that we've gone to where we've had a lot of crews and gone really fast.
Yeah.
And we had that ramp to get there, you know, it still can take a few months to get that high speed of build that you want. But it has to be done right. And that's why I said, you know, we're more conservative in how we approach that because again, you may want it really fast, but somebody else, you know, may want us to stop and do something different. There's different reasons that we stop. We put up stuff that we've not been in somebody's yard, but the neighbor across the street didn't like what they were looking at. So we've had to change for different reasons. And I could tell you some funny stories about paint and colors of stuff that we've had to do over the years. But the point is, as long as we're good stewards of the right of way, as long as we're good stewards of doing what we say we're going to do, usually the cities are very, very good at working with us to allow us to go, you know, faster.
Hang on a second, PJ, please. We got somebody on the line. Christopher, you can go ahead.
Yes, I was wondering what, this may have already been spoken. I was wondering what the up and down speeds are going to be.
Yes, for our longtime listener, first time caller, they're symmetrical. So, you know, everything is, if it's 500, it's 500. If it's 1 gig, it's 1 gig. If it's 2 gig, it's 2 gig. It's 5 gig, same thing. 10 gig, same thing.
So are you going to offer 10 gig?
We will, to the one vanity customer that may want it. Maybe you, yeah, okay. That's the equipment can do it. It's rare to find a customer that knows how to use it. I mean, to be fair.
I do have I host 5M gaming servers and
Oh wow. Okay.
yeah. So I do have a couple servers at my house. So I was that was a big issue that we ran into out here is not having fiber.
You guys know each other?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Chris, I would say it's inevitable, right? They're working on 25 gig PON, 40 gig PON.
Oh, yeah.
So as the market, you know, as this technology matures, it's inevitable.
And is this Christopher?
Yeah.
Christopher, what the equipment that we have at the core allows us to continue to upgrade the equipment at your home without changing the core equipment. So if you track down or follow the technology on the core, they refer to it as XGS PON. So that gear means that your end device at your home, we can change without having to do an upgrade. So I will tell you, you know, the 10 gig side, to be fair, is still relatively new. I wouldn't count on, as far as I call it, quality, because it just takes time for that. You know how it goes when they, you know, come out the door with a new piece of technology, especially when people aren't really using it. And so it hasn't been stressed enough to tell you that, you know, you can be happy that you're getting the true 10 gig out of it. Because again, there's very, very few users, especially residential, that would actually challenge that 10 gig. But if you do, bring it on.
All right, we got Don next. Okay, hang on, PJ. There's been some people
It's
waiting
okay.
online, so
No
sorry.
worries.
Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard yet exactly, could you explain what you do between the street and the house? And then from the house inside, bringing the fiber into the house to whatever location the modem is located? Is there a box on the outside of the house? Do you trench to the house and you do the house wiring, or I call it wiring, but it's fiber cable? What do you do between the street, the house, and then inside the home? Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, you bet, Don. Two methods. So if it's underground, we'll put, we call a flower pot, every other house right on the lot line. And then when the installer comes in, he will trench in from that flower pot on the lot line to your existing NID, or to the side that your existing services, whether it be cable or copper, come in on that side of the house. If it's aerial, we'll run an aerial drop to your house, very similar to the coax that's in place now.
And then from that point inside your house, you've got that little box that, you know, we do a transition into the home to put the gateway in.
Yeah, we'll run fiber all the way into that device as well.
All right, Don. PJ, go ahead.
Thanks. You mentioned that 45 to 60 days was kind of your, once approvals were given, et cetera. At that point, have you already pre-established a mapping area for where you would begin here in Ocean Shores? And I'm sorry if I missed it earlier.
So we've got the designs for the area. It's really what I was referring to earlier is the connectivity between us and the PUD. So when they design where he's going to do a step off at, probably not far away from where we can publish that.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and we'll definitely publish that so you guys will know. That 45 to 60 days was just for one fiber distribution area. You know, depending on the construction fatigue and how the community likes or thinks we're doing, you know, it's always our goal to build a couple in parallel if allowed.
All right, we got another online. Is that Kim? Go ahead, Kim.
You talked a lot about the timing, but I'm just looking for a more specific answer. Do you know when your first customers will actually be able to use your service?
So depending on permitting and how soon we can get things rolling with the town, you know, I would hope to be getting something in the ground within 90 days.
All right, do we have anybody else online? Nope. All right.
So to more specifically answer Kim's question, within 6 months, Kim, we want to be
Within
live
6
with our
months.
first customers. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Will the homeowners be notified before you start digging?
Absolutely. So you get notified in several different ways. We do something, you know, by law where every consumer gets notified of construction. Consumers, you know, none of us always check that mail, or, you know, because it looks like your average piece of mail, whether it's kind of a postcard style or whether it looks like a letter. We do it a few different ways, but we also do it digitally as well. So you'll know, I mean, trust me, you will know, you will get peppered with notifications. The average consumer, kind of think of it these days, takes about 20 touches. You know, and I should say, you know, you got early adopters who'll see it and just want to sign up, but the average consumer takes about 20 touches from us, you know, to sign up. So yeah, you get a lot of notifications.
One thing what I really like is we come and hang construction door hangers on the door before we start. But it never fails that people weren't sure we're coming, and then we ask them if they at the door hanger, and they say, yeah, but we didn't read it. So I'd encourage you to read them. I think we do 2 rounds of door hangers.
We
potentially-
do, and
potentially
plus a
3.
mailer.
Yeah.
And then you'll get a plethora of mailers, traditional mail and digital.
Sorry. You will be able to get to my door. I have an 85-pound security person, 4 feet, and she'll run back and forth. So you have to put it on the gate that's in the front. So I would prefer
Okay.
you let us know. I mean, you can do that, but leave it somewhere where we can see it. Accessibility
So you
is
got a
great.
45-pound person.
I got an 85-pound, 4-foot person, a
Oh.
4-legged person
Oh, okay.
that's out there.
So throw it like on a pork chop, throw it over there.
She'd like you forever.
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, you mentioned door hangers. That's been kind of a hot button issue in this neighbor
Okay.
because we have so many people vacation homes and things like that. So leaving door hangers out on residents that they sit there forever and it kind of gives things away. So just wanted to mention that.
No, that's good to know. Thank you for that. We'll be mindful of that.
We'll work closely with the city. That's part of the reason we're here today. And so this is not a one-time show, right? Well, I'll be here. I live in Washington. I live in Tacoma, not across the street, but I live here. And we'll come out and we'll have events. We'll have more information. We're not going to make it so that you don't know what's happening in your neighborhood. We know this is important. And we don't want to leave door hangers on homes that are unoccupied. That's not safe for anyone. And the mayor and the city administrator have spoken with me about that, and we'll work with the city.
We're not perfect. If you see something, please let us know. Yeah.
Well, you also said that we might be seeing a truck driving around testing or checking out things. Will that truck be with your logo and everything on it so we know that it's a real
They
contractor?
should be here, so
Huh?
to speak.
Yeah.
Somebody that really should be here.
Yeah, yes.
I like that. I'm going to make sure that happens.
Yeah, well, our
Thank you.
construction contractors do.
Yeah.
And this is a firm that is doing the pre-work in front of it. So we'll just go ahead and have them do that.
We got another one online. Janet? Go ahead, Janet.
Just a quick question regarding, I came in really late here, so I'm just asking a question. How does this service compare to Starlink?
Hey, you can take that.
Starlink's in a really nice package and looks really, really good. I can tell you that Starlink has some density issues. Don't quote me on it, but probably 6 to 8 subs per mile. They'll fix it eventually. They do have some latency, but I would put fiber against that anytime, any day. Symmetrical and higher speeds. And I would say more consistent service.
And other.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get a consistent throughput. Obviously, anything that would affect that signal, you certainly have that as potential interference. But that product will get better. There's no doubt about it. How many satellites I got up there now, but it's crazy. But yeah, I think from our standpoint, and what you'll find, Janet, is that this it works no matter what. Weather is not the issue.
And then I guess lastly, Janet, I would add price. It is an expensive service. I haven't had it. I'm not sure if it's come down or where it's at these days, but I think we beat their price all day long.
I missed your price. So what is it? I know Starlink's about 130 a month. So what are your?
Our highest tier is 95, so at the 2 gig range. So you're definitely well under that.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
We got another one online. Jason, go ahead. Jason, are you there?
Sorry about that. I missed the button. So when the work is done, how are we notified that in the area that we can sign up and access the internet?
Jason, you're going to be notified through traditional mail. Matter of fact, we have consumers that our door to door have gone to and said, please stop sending me mail. And so you'll get that. And also there's the digital side of the world. So any of the, apps that you generally watch different things on, you'll see those advertisements there. And then you'll have very specific ones to your address. I mean, the technology available to us to target consumers from an advertising standpoint is quite extensive. And so we spend a lot of time and money on that side. So you will get, there isn't any reason why you will not know when it's available, what day you can sign up, how you can sign up, who you can talk to. It covers every detail.
And I do have something else. Is this something that y'all are, I know you said, it depends on the permits and all that fun jazz, but is this more of a project that you're trying to do in a more favorable weather like summer, or is this something that you're like looking to kind of get started whenever the ball gets rolling?
The latter. But you got to remember, you have to be cognizant of what construction does during this time of season to yards, et cetera, so they don't easily repair. So sometimes we've stopped just because, you're causing more destruction than what it's worth. And so we're always cognizant of that. But hiring local contractors who are used to the conditions helps. But again, we're very sensitive, Jason, to what it looks like. And it just can't look terrible, very long. People just don't accept it. I don't accept it. So, why would you? So again, we'll go with what Mother Nature allows us to do, and obviously what it looks like.
All righty. I think that's it for me. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks. I guess we don't have any other online. Oh, we got one in the crowd. Rick.
In line, not online.
Okay.
You might consider, we just started this last weekend. It was our first festival this season. This town is known for its festivals.
Love those.
It might be beneficial to you to set up a booth here during the festivals.
Absolutely.
I mean, not only are you, almost all the residents filter in and out of the festivals at some point in time during the weekend,
Sure.
but we also get so many people from greater
To the
Puget
area.
Sound area. If you're going into other markets, it might be a preemptive strike to let these people know you're working their direction, and it might be a good way for you to get your name out there and touch a lot of people face to face. Just a thought.
No, we love festivals. I think something that you guys wouldn't think about. In Illinois, we did one. It was a pumpkin chunkin'. That was pretty cool. They can launch those things like a mile. And so, yeah, no, we've done them all shapes and sizes. So yeah, we love those. I do. Yeah.
Something I've been wanting to do for a while. I call it the slice to splice. And so have pizza and people can come into the splice trailer and see how we're splicing the fiber together. I've always wanted to do that.
Yeah.
All right. We got any other questions? I guess not. Well, I can't thank you guys enough for coming and explaining everything. And it was really good to hear from you.
Well, thank you
So,
guys for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.